Using the bank. What kind of bank we talking about here? Food, blood, sperm, spank? Sorry, folks, we had a theme song, but the bank repossessed it. I hope this movie doesn't have a minimum balance requirement.
The bank offers us many services. And like Mr. Frank Adams, most of us use the bank.
Boom, dot, bust.
The bank is a good place to keep money.
I hope this film has been helpful to you.
Here is Mr. Adams filling out a deposit slip. He lists cash and checks separately. The total, $62.53, is the amount he is going to deposit in his savings account.
Having spent the rest on chibi figures and Mountain Dew.
He takes the cash, the check, the deposit slip, and his bank book to the teller at the savings window.
Her name is Pearl or Eunice or something.
The teller places the bank book in an adding recording machine.
It runs on diesel fuel and immigrant
Into the
tears.
bank book, she punches the amount of his deposit and the new balance, which is the total amount that Mr. Adams now has in his savings account. There's the amount of the deposit, $62.53.
Not even enough for Amazon Prime.
The pages of the bank book show the record of Mr. Adams' savings account.
It's pretty grim.
8 years ago, one March, he made his first deposit of $50.
And got a free toaster.
As he made regular deposits from his earnings, his balance grew. But his balance actually became greater than the sum of all his deposits. For at the end of each 6 months interest period, the bank added interest to his balance, which therefore kept on growing.
But of course then there's the $10 interest fee.
The teller puts Mr. Adams' deposit slip with other deposit slips in this basket. These slips are a record of the money that has come into the bank.
Stolen by this woman.
And up here, they're checked in the proving machine.
I mean, proved in the checking machine. Sorry about that.
The bank's careful methods give Mr. Adams confidence that his savings are secure. And so does the federal government's insurance guarantee.
The government would never let anything bad happen to the banks. Here's where we keep the free pens and mortgage brochures.
Some of the money of the depositors is kept behind the great door of this vault.
You know, this is very reminiscent of an early Capra movie called American Madness. Except this is in extreme slow motion for some reason.
Part of the money that comes into a bank is kept in cash.
The rest is kept in tacos.
But the rest of it must be put to work to earn a profit for the bank. And so, the bank invests much of its money.
Inside every bank vault is a smaller vault full of back issues of Nintendo Power.
According to law, these investments must be safe investments, such as government bonds, municipal bonds, and mortgages.
Got some bad news for you, movie.
The bank also invests its customers' money in personal and business loans to reliable people.
Like my brother-in-law, Steve.
Here is Mr. Adams with the president of the Elmville National Bank. They're discussing a loan.
You've saved over $4,000.
That's right, Mr. Smith.
This is a holdup.
I've saved 80% of the capital I'll need to start my hardware business.
I see. And now you would like to borrow an additional $1,000 from us.
That's right.
Denied.
In your letter here, you explain why you feel this town needs another hardware store. Tell me, Mr. Adams, how much experience have you had in the hardware business?
I worked as a salesman for 3 years with the Lewis Wholesale Hardware in Johnstown.
Cleaned him out.
And I have managed the appliance department in the King Hardware Store.
And I was
here
a
in
shovel
Elmville
for 2 years.
For the past 8 years.
That should certainly be enough. And you've been promised a location on Washington Street.
Yes, I have, Mr. Smith.
Good place for a hardware store.
Lots of molecules
Well,
and
I
stuff.
think we can make you this loan.
Oh, that's fine. Will the bank need security?
No, I don't think so.
The government's got our back.
As you say, you're putting up 80% of the capital from your own savings. Besides, you've lived in this town and banked with us for quite a while. You have a good reputation. We know you're reliable.
I'm glad you
bought
think
it.
so.
Here's the note, and this is where you sign. You'd better read it over carefully first.
Oh, did I mention I can't read?
Let's see. For value received, I promise to pay to the Elmville National Bank $1,000 in monthly installments of $50, beginning 1 month from the date of this note.
Until I am dead or
Seems
broke.
Okay.
total chump.
Fine. And since you're paying the loan back on a monthly basis, we will calculate the interest on a monthly basis, too. The tables in this book will give us the exact figure. Now, let's see.
You're bankrupt.
20 months at our usual rate. It comes to just $20.43.
Compounded every 7 minutes.
Now, we will subtract the interest from the principal
Fold it into a subprime mortgage.
and give you a check for the balance.
That sounds all right. How much will it come to?
A bajillion
Comes
dollars.
to exactly $979.57.
That's fair enough.
Miss Jenkins, will you please make out a check to Mr. Frank Adams for $979.57.
Then lose it in the mail.
Right away, Mr. Smith.
Thanks. Now,
We dance.
how about opening a checking account for your new business?
Yes. I'd like to do that right away so I can start paying for my furnishings and my merchandise by check. I'll start
Oh,
my checking
God, the
account.
sun burned out.
Mr. Adams finds his new checking account very useful.
Free rolling
To
papers.
pay for the $150 worth of merchandise which he has ordered, he is going to draw a check on his bank.
With spray paint, Banksy style.
Here is the stub of his check. To the balance brought forward, he has added his most recent deposit.
14 cents.
From the total, he subtracts the amount of his present check,
Somebody please invent Quicken.
$150. He keeps a complete record of his checking account on his stubs.
Levi stubs.
The check itself is drawn on the Elmville National Bank. That means it is an instruction to the bank to pay to the order of the Miller Supply Company the sum of $150.
After fees and random withholdings, that's about $43.
Mr. Adams writes the amount in words so there can be no mistake.
Passive aggressive much?
The Elmville Bank on which this check is drawn will pay out the $150 as soon as the Miller Supply Company endorses or signs the check and presents it for payment. All that remains for Mr. Adams is to mail the check with his order to the Miller Supply Company, which can collect the money as soon as it endorses the check.
Where are the credit cards with chips in them?
And here is the check arriving at the Miller Supply Company.
Please, spare no detail.
The girl stamps or endorses it.
Check for president.
But instead of collecting the money direct from the Elmville National Bank, the company does it through its own bank, where the check is arriving right now.
It's been a big day for this small town check.
This bank can collect $150 once it places its own endorsement on the check, as it is doing here.
And also here.
But instead of collecting the money directly, it uses a more convenient method.
Robbing other banks.
Like many other banks, it sends its checks to the Federal Reserve Bank for collection.
Unrelated shot of community college mailroom.
The Federal Reserve Bank is set up to handle thousands of checks from hundreds of banks in a single day.
Up to 30 a week.
All these banks save themselves a great deal of trouble by collecting on checks through the Reserve Bank.
The government makes everything easier.
The Federal Reserve Bank collects the money direct from the banks on which the checks are drawn and returns the checks to these banks.
About 63% of the time.
And so, Mr. Adams' check reaches the Elmville National Bank, where it is canceled to show that $150 has been paid out of Mr. Adams' account. As proof, the canceled check will be sent to him along with his monthly statement.
Oh, he should really go paperless.
And here Mr. Adams is serving a customer in his hardware store. He is building up a prosperous business with the help of his bank loan and the money he has saved over the years in his savings account.
He's also the Zodiac, so he's got that going on.
And there is the lady's change.
All in nickels for some reason.
But speaking of change, the store is beginning to run short of it. Yes, there is just time to change his coat and get to the bank before closing time.
Just send Uncle Billy.
Mr. Adams finds his local bank very convenient.
So he fills out a comment card.
Not only because it can always give him all the small needs, but also because of its other services.
Oh, can you name some?
Such as his savings account,
Thank you.
the loan which it gave him,
Yep.
and the checking account which makes it possible for him to pay for his orders by check.
Don't forget reimbursement of foreign ATM fees.
At the teller's window, he is getting his small change. conveniently wrapped in paper and labeled nickels, dimes,
Farthings,
quarters,
quatloos,
and half-dollars.
Republic credits.
Mr. Adams is a good customer of the bank. In return, the bank provides many services for him and for everyone who uses the bank.
Oops, the market crashed.